I was pastoring in Riverview, Lincoln, just outside of Lincoln, and the pulpit committee came and visited me and asked me if I'd be interested in coming. In the meantime, my family and I went to Ridgecrest, and Dr. Baker James Coffin was preaching on Sunday morning, and I made my decision there when he said, "If not you, who? If not when? If not now, if not you, who? If not you, who? If not now, when?" And, you know, that was my answer. So I told him I'd come. L.T. Ward was chairman of the pulpit committee. Wiley Smith, A.M. Dietz, Jerry Rice, and I don't remember the other members of the pulpit committee, but they came. And so in August of 1969, we moved here. So the children, I have 3 children, so the children could get in school. And I went back for the last service on Sunday after we'd already moved up here, and then I came back and started my ministry here. Of course, we just built a new building at Riverview, and they were interested in building a new building, the new auditorium that we have. So that was, they were looking for somebody who had some expertise, I guess you'd say. I'd worked in hardware and lumber company as a young man, and so they were looking for somebody who had a little expertise in building to help chair up the committee. So we chose committees and had planning with Sunday school board, and finally we got to the point that we hired an architect, and we got the bids, or after we got the architect and got the plans, we decided to build. Well, maybe I'm ahead of stuff. We decided to build, and then we got the architect. So you'll have to excuse me, I'm an old man, I forgot. So we got the architect and we got the plans, and it's funny, when we voted to build, we were in the old building over there, and everybody in the audience stood, and I didn't look back in the choir, and Stanley Buckner he stood up against it, so we had one against the whole congregation. But anyway, I didn't see him, so I said it's unanimous. Oh me, okay. So then, as I said, we went on with plans and were able to build a sanctuary. We had to raise finances. We had a finance committee, and members of our church went to every home. We solicited every home and asked them how much they'd like to give, and I've forgotten how many thousands, over, I don't know, maybe up toward 100,000. And then we started searching elsewhere, and a bond salesman checked it out, and the bids were I don't know what the bids were, but we had to get enough money to build the building, and the bond salesman said if you borrow more than $240,000, you cross the line between faith and foolishness. And we borrowed $363,000 and paid it off in 9 years. Had on the first Sunday, Barbara Lamb was our director of getting people, you know, to come to Sunday school. Activities director, well, no, whatever. But anyhow, Barbara had gotten a whole lot of people anxious, and we had 400 in Sunday school.
Oh my goodness.
That first Sunday, and the auditorium was full. Man, I was overwhelmed.
How did the worship feel different in the new sanctuary compared with the old sanctuary?
Well, the setting was different. You know, the old sanctuary had bucket seats and and had been built years ago. Well, 1922 was when the church was formed, in July, and it was exuberant for me because I was so excited to have so many people. And so with my message, I sort of went through what we had done and how we'd come to that point. And so it was an exciting time, and all the folks were excited. We had 12 additions to the church that Sunday. And we had a dedication service on the next Sunday, on there, Sunday afternoon. That was July 1975, and we had Perry Crouch, who was the executive secretary of the Baptist State Convention, as our main speaker. He was in Nashville then as pastor, yeah. First Baptist in Nashville.
Wow.
Did you know any of the pastors who were before you here in Weaverville? Did you ever meet them or get to know them, some of your predecessors here?
I didn't meet any of the predecessors of this church, no. Huh. But I had a good relation with the Presbyterian and the Methodist, and we changed, have services on Thanksgiving Day. One of the preachers in each one of the church at 10 o'clock on Thanksgiving Day, we'd have a Thanksgiving service. It worked out good. I was upset a bit for a while. I was used to hunting on Thanksgiving Day. But after I did the first one, I was sold on it. I thought this is one wonderful way to give thanks. So we had it on Thanksgiving Day at 10 o'clock. And then the people go home, cook their lunch, and enjoy the turkey.
Well, that's great that the relationship between the churches here has been going on so long, because we still do things like that. And we still have a community Thanksgiving service during normal times. Right. And they must have moved it between when you were here and me getting here. They moved it to Sundays. They do it on the Sunday evening before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, times have changed. We do things a lot different than we did when I first came here.
Well, what was different in the church from the time that you came to the time that you left? Not just the building, but how had you seen the church and the people change? Because you were here a good long time. Right. What kind of developments and changes did you see?
Okay. I came here, as I've already mentioned, in 1969, and I retired March the 31st, 1988, at 62 years old. And from the time I came here, new people were moving in the area, and we had a lot of additions to our church. And as I said already, we had 400 in Sunday school when we moved in the new building, and we averaged 300 for a year or two after that. But it was off and on. We had couple of difficulties during the time. I don't want to go into them, but we had several difficulties which caused us to lose some members. But the Lord helped us to survive off of that, and we were able to move on. And I believe when I left here in 1980, we were having about 225 in Sunday school. And so I took an interim the next week and did 13 more, so I stayed busy.
A lot of Baptist preachers are like that. Even when they retire, they stay busy. Yeah. Well, what were you proud of about the church? What do you think the church did well? What do you think were some of this church's gifts and strengths when you were here?
Well, we had good Sunday school teachers and had good Sunday school. I guess the preaching was mediocre, but I tried my best. Maybe not my best, but next to the best I could do. But anyway, the people were loving and kind and gracious, and of course you always have a few naysayers, but generally the people were nice to me and they tolerated me. I often felt that that my wife was the cause for me to continue to have my ministry here, because everybody loved her. And she taught them how to can and knit and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And the women loved that. So it was a good ministry. The times that we had the problems was real hard on me, but you know, the Lord's sufficient. He said, my grace is sufficient, and it is.
And how old were your kids when they moved here? Were they young? Did they grow up here?
Yes, my kids were in elementary school. Let's see, Doug was 8, I believe, and Jim was 6. No, Doug's probably about 10 or 12, and Jim was about 10, and Phoebe was in elementary school. They finished high school and also finished college while we were here. So I was real proud of them. They did well. Yeah. I don't know how they treated the community. Folks didn't tell me. I know one time they had some kids out and they toilet papered my tree there in front of my house, the parsonage. But they were good kids, and generally.
Can you remember any special events or encounters, some humorous things that happened during the time you were here, or just different things of note with the congregation, or instances that happened while you were here that come to mind that of the congregation?
I'm trying to think. I don't remember anything right at the moment in particular. Let me think just a little bit and see if I can really remember something happening here. Of course, you have different folks. Had one fella when we built a building, and the treasurer was keeping the building fund and the regular fund in the same fund. And he got up one night and said, you know, we are not meeting our budget. And I had to explain to him, we're meeting our budget. So I talked to the treasurer. I won't name him. I talked to him. He's a good man and did a good job. And told him to change it. And I'm sure that man was embarrassed when he found out that there wasn't anything wrong with the budget. It was going good. But you have that. Well, I can tell you some encounters I had in my study. It was down there, and we'd had re-roof, and the insurance man had told me that the insurance company would pay for it, and then they backed out and said they wouldn't. And I had a guy come in my study, and he read me the Riot Act, and I had to go out and preach after he read me the Riot Act, because the man that was doing the works insurance would have paid it if I hadn't done what I did. So I took that as one of my losses. And one of his problems. And of course, you meet all kinds of people. Some of them you can joke with and have fun, and others you can't. But I've generally got along pretty good in that area.
Yes, I know you did.
I don't know whether that answers your question or not.
Yeah.
What were some of the funnest times that you had while you were here? What were some of the most fun times?
Funniest?
Well, funniest or the most enjoyable for you?
Oh, most enjoyable.
Yeah.
Well, one of the most enjoyable was on Sunday morning. We had a gentleman that was in his, I believe he's 67. He'd had a problem with believing in the resurrection. And every time we had a revival, I'd take the evangelist with me and go visit him. And one Sunday morning, right out of the blue, he came and wanted to give his life to Christ. So that was Bill Ward. And
yes.
Bill made a great member of the church here, and later joined First Baptist in Nashville. And that was one of the happiest moments of my life, because a man that age was getting closer to time out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that was one of the experiences. And then to be able to baptize, I think I baptized one whole family, about 4 or 5 at one time. I can't put it all together, but it's been a long time ago. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you were pastor here, people did go out in teams to meet people and to talk to people about Christ. About,
yes. Okay, we had visitation on Tuesday night. There's 3 or 4 of us that went, and when a new person moved into town, we went to the water department here in Weaverville and got their names, and we visited them, invited them to church. If it's lost, try to win them to Christ. And so we were able to win some folks to Christ, and also get some folks to come in and join the church who had moved into the community. But that was the way we had to keep up with, and we had a brochure that opened and said, it said on the front, said, "You haven't lived in Weaverville until you have visited First Baptist Church," and then had my picture and a message and the choir director, and I don't remember who all else. And we'd give that to them, you know, and the time of our services and everything.
That's a good idea.
And of course, 50th anniversary, I don't remember what we did, but I know we wrote a history. And you've probably got one in the library. I got some in the house, they haven't. And so we've celebrated the 50th anniversary. And I never forget July 22nd, 1922.
You remember the date, the specific date?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, around that time next summer is when we will celebrate the 100th anniversary,
right,
in mid-July.
Right.
So there wouldn't be too many people that can say they celebrated both the 50th and the 100th anniversary of the church.
Yeah, well, if the Lord leaves me here that long.
I hope so.
I hope so too. I hope so too.
Let's see, you celebrated the 50th, didn't you?
Yes, I was here at that time. I think
There'll be several folks.
Yeah.
But no pastor
No.
celebrated both.
Or staff
to
member,
my
maybe.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's just 100 years.
Yeah. Well, you had a secretary when you first came here, did you not? Who was your secretary at that time?
Okay, May Kennedy was secretary, and May was an unmarried old maid, and she's rather sensitive sometimes, but she was a good secretary. And then when she resigned or retired, Hazel Deaver was my secretary, and she was a good secretary too, and then ended up with James Harold's wife.
Phyllis. Phyllis.
Mm-hmm.
What was her name?
Phyllis.
Yeah, Phyllis.
Yeah.
Phyllis. She'd shoot me if she knew I didn't remember her name. She called me her boss the whole time.
What were some of the other staff members that you enjoyed working with?
Yeah, we had Shirley McIntosh. She was youth director twice. Once after we'd had one of the difficulties that we had, and the first was before that. She was here when we wrote the 50th history. And then we had big tall guy, Anderson.
Yeah.
His wife was a pianist, and he was the
LeCount.
Yeah, he was account. Yeah, he was the education director.
Yeah.
And they were all good. And I had a young man, I can't remember his name, and he was a good servant too. Let's see, who was here when I left?
I'm trying to remember. I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
was
was it Scott Miller? Was he here when you... Scott Miller that married Rachel?
Yeah, it might have been Scott. Yeah, Rachel would remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been Scott. Yeah, Scott was good.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we had the minister was one of them too. He wore glasses. He's from Florida, or his wife's from Florida. Oh goodness, he went to New Orleans Seminary. My gracious, I can't remember. You could look it up.
Yeah.
Did he direct?
You know who I'm talking about, don't you?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Myers?
No.
No.
Did he direct the music?
No. He's just youth education.
I think it was Brent and Martha.
No, that's not.
Maybe that was after.
But anyway, I can't remember. I'm sorry. If I remember it, I'll give you a call.
Okay.
We could have brought the lists. We have a list of former staff members.
Yeah. Okay.
That we're trying to put together. Yeah. What were some of the music directors or the music programs that you remember?
Okay, we had a member of our church, Melba Buckner, was music director. Betty Hughes was organist, and we had different pianists. We had no, it wasn't Melody, that wasn't her name, but she played with Patty. Patty played the organ, and who was
Bird was the
Bird,
last
yeah, Miss Bird. And then after Melba went back to school or something, or resigned, I don't remember what, we had a guy from Mars Hill, and he was real good, and I can't think of his name. And he went somewhere to Winston-Salem or somewhere and got killed in an automobile accident. Now, what was he? Was a pretty stout fella.
Oh, I can't remember.
And he was super good. And then we had Joel Reed when I left here. Joel was a jewel. He was a nice guy. So some of the folks didn't. Well, I can't say that. You're going to edit this, aren't you?
I can. Yeah. You can't please all the people all the time, nor should you try. Especially in ministry, you should only try to honor the Lord,
right? Yeah.
And do your best. Yeah. And even in the tightest of families, there will be disagreements.
Yeah.
And sometimes folks don't get along.
I'll tell you when you turn it off.
No problem.
Well, tell us, I remember Pauline Snelson always did Bible school. Can you tell us some things about her and about how she conducted Bible school?
Yeah, she used the iron thumb of rule. And she's seminary educated. And we had not 1 week, but 2 weeks. And we were about worn out to that. And of course, when she gave it up, we had different vacation Bible schools, but Pauline was really good. She knew how to do a Bible school, and she invited the black folks, and they came to our Bible school. And I remember one of them being saved. I talked to him personally, and he accepted the Lord. But anyway, she had a good Bible school. Of course, like I said, she was pretty tough. Patty, Bill's wife. Lida, yeah. Patty, she asked her about doing Bible school, and she said, we were on vacation that week. And Pauline, she didn't hesitate. She said, well, the Lord's work comes first. That was some of you asked me about humor, that's some of the humor. I tell you, one time I'd gone to a convention and I was coming back from the convention, and we were on a bus. We had gotten a bus to take us, and there was a young girl from Mark Gardner Webb that was sitting beside me, a single girl, and this woman took a picture and she said, "I'm going to tell this to Ruby." I said, "I don't care, Ruby won't mind," but I said, "Just don't tell it to Pauline Smith." Yeah, but she was a great lady, and her sister was doing something up at Mars Hill College, so she was unmarried, Pauline was, and she ended up, had a hard life the last few months of her life. She was in pain and agony, and it was tough. I believe she's in the Baptist home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she left a big legacy in this church and in the association too.
Yeah, she was leader in association church too. Yeah, yeah, she was active leader.
Okay.
Any other questions or stories?
I can't think of it. I'll probably think of all these things
Yeah,
when I get home.
Yeah, later on. Yeah.
And you may think of things when you get home, Mr. Denton.
Is there
I probably will.
Is there anything that you would want for people now to remember about the times when you were here at the church, what it was like back then? Or is there something you want people in the future to know and remember about the church and where it came from?
Well, I think that one of the things is that have a good visitation program, visit homes, and there's going to be a lot. There's all apartments going over next to my house and out here. There's a lot of people going to be moving in the area, and I would suggest a good visitation program. And I would suggest that the Bible be stressed and its importance. A couple of the verses that have meant a lot to me through the years was in Proverbs 3:6, "In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths." And in Philippians 4:19, he said, "My God shall supply all your needs according to his riches in glory through Jesus Christ our Lord." I was in my study in January before we started the building program, and my devotion that morning was included Philippians 4:14, and I decided that I wasn't going to have ulcers over that building because my God had all the cattle on 1,000 hills. That's in Psalms, so I never got any ulcers, and thank the Lord. So, but I would encourage the church to be active in the community and to love people and to love God, and listen to their minister as he brings God's word and apply it to their hearts. And I can assure you that if the church will follow the leadership of the Lord, that it'll make progress. And I pray that the next 100 years will be better than the last 100 has been.
It's been a good 100 years so far.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what the next 100 brings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate the legacy that you built here in this church and gifted to us, not just in buildings, but in presence and in care and leadership, and your steady hand of humble guidance and servant leadership.
Thank you.
Was a gift that will gift the church for another 100 years.
Right.
And we're thankful for it.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
You're welcome.